Yes, the video is finally out. This is how to be sub-5 on Skewb. In this video, I'll be covering the basic steps you need to get sub-5 and how you should go about practicing like each step to get sub-5. Now, sub-5 is considered a decent speed in lots of places, but like you need to learn Sarah's intermediate for sub-5, and because at some point beginners is just too inefficient for like sub-5. You end up doing 5 or more sledgehammers per solve, whereas like say for Sarah's advanced, which is like the highest level, you only need like 4 sledgehammers for all cases and 5 for some really bad ones, but like that's besides the point. So what you need to do for sub-5 is you learn Sarah's intermediate, and Sarah's intermediate method has, if I recall correctly, I think 10 cases, and like some are just mirrors of each other, and they use sledgehammer and the inverse of sledgehammer, which is head slammer. I'll show you both real quickly if you don't know what they are. So this is called a sledgehammer when it's just 4 moves, okay, those 4 moves. And in Rubik's Cube notation, which I covered in the introduction part, it's capital R prime, right, capital F prime, capital L F, capital L prime. So that's it. That's the sledgehammer in Rubik's Cube notation. And the inverse of sledgehammer is called head slammer, and in Rubik's Cube notation that is capital F, capital R prime, capital F prime, capital R. So that's head slammer. So using these two, you can basically solve all of the intermediate cases in like the maximum of 3, right? So you only need a maximum of 3 sledgehammers, and combination of sledgehammers and head slammers to solve any intermediate case, which means within 3 sledgehammers you will get to solve the top color, the full color, as in you will be able to solve let me just demonstrate. Yeah, you'll be able to solve this whole part of the Skewb after your first layer. So that is an improvement on the beginner's method, in which it takes a longer time to get to that state. And yeah, so I'll be showing you of the simple cases for intermediate in this video, and I will also show you the layer tips you need, because as you get faster, the last layer doesn't make as much a difference as your first layer, because your first layer is the whole foundation of your solve, and if your first layer is inefficient and slow, then your like entire solve can be ruined just because of that. Anyways, I'll be covering all of the intermediate cases now. Alright, so the first intermediate case that I will be covering, the first set that I will cover, is the peanut cases, because in my opinion they're really easy, but like not as easy as the pie cases, some of them. Anyways, I always recognize peanut cases by these 2 corners that are facing inwards, because if you know one is solved, the second one has to be solved. That's how a Skewb works. Anyways, I always recognize the position of the U center. I've solved the orange layer. The position of the U center with respect to these 2 corners. So this is the first case where you have the U center on the right, like here, connected to this unsolved corner, forming a sort of bar like this. So the way you solve this case is that you hold the center on the right and you do a hedge, alright, and you rotate again. That's a Y dash rotation, I think. Yeah, that's a Y dash rotation, and Y prime, Y dash, whichever notation you use, and after that you do another hedge, and that's how you solve the first case. And now the second case is exactly the mirror of that. Instead of the U center being here, it's here now. So instead of holding it from here, we'll hold the center on the left. And now instead of doing a head slammer, we'll do a sledgehammer. So we'll do a sledgehammer, then we do a wide rotation, and then we do another sledgehammer, which solves the top face. Now because I'm setting up the cases in like the reverse of what you do, that's why I'm getting the top layer solved. Normally that doesn't happen. You'll either be left with a U perm or an H perm or a Z perm. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, the next case is this, where this center is on the right of the, like, it's behind the right unsolved corner. Alright, for this one we hold the center on the right, and this one will be facing us. We do a sledgehammer, and we do a wide, what is this, Y dash rotation, Y prime rotation, and then we do a hedge slammer, which solves the top. And now the exact inverse of that, when the U center is over here, we hold that on the left, and instead of starting with a sledgehammer, we'll start with a hedge. We do a Y rotation, and then we do another sledge. And that's all the, you know, oh wait, yeah, there's a fifth case. This case, like, for beginners method, this case is absolute hell. Yeah, like, yeah, but it's 3 moves. I mean, sorry, not 3 moves, 3 sledges and hedges. All you gotta do is hold it such that this block of, I mean, like, you see these two, the left one is facing you. So what you need is a left unsolved corner with the red, the up color facing you, and the right one solved. So what we do here is a sledgehammer, okay, which basically brings it to one of the same cases. So for sake of remembering it, we'll do a sledgehammer followed by a Y dash rotation, then a hedge, another Y dash rotation, and then another hedge, and that solves the top color. So those were all the peanut cases. Now we'll be talking about the pie cases. Alright, so the pie cases are very simple to recognize because of, like, it is quite simple. There are, like, when you talk about it, there are only 5 centers, 5 positions where the U center can be, and all 5 of them are very distinguishable from each other, especially for pie. For peanut it might be confusing and it might take more practice, but this is much simpler. Anyways, you might have noticed this case come up when I was talking about peanut, where it's like this. Now we have the classic pie shape like this, and we have the U center on the left of the headlights, right? So like these are the headlights, and to the left is the U center. So what we do for this case, it's very simple. We hold it like in a normal position. We do the normal algorithm. So what that does is that brings that there, and that's also top face. That's it. And the mirror for that. Now in this case, normally what a beginner's method solver would do is hold it over here and do a sledgehammer, which only solves the corners. But like what we would do is that recognize that this center was over here to the right of the headlights, right? We hold it over here and we do a hedge, which is the inverse of the sledge, right? And that's also top as well. That's quite straightforward. Anyways, the next case that we have is when the U center is like at the back. It's over here. It's not connected to anything. There's nothing connected to the U center. So how we solve this is that we hold the headlights in the front, okay, and the U center in the back. We do a sledgehammer, right, followed by a Y rotation. Then we do a hedge followed by a Y dash rotation, and what you get is like the hedge case which I taught you just now. So we do that, and that's also top. And the the second last one is where we have the U center connected to the headlights. Alright, for this case we'll hold the U center in the back, okay, and this one is actually really finger trick friendly for me. So what you do here is a sledge, and the rotation patterns for this case and when the U center is here, those two cases, the rotation pattern is the same and the first algo is the same. It just what you do after that is different. So for this one, you start off with a sledge and you rotate in the same direction. Instead of doing a hedge, you do another sledge, and when you rotate back, you get a hedge. So you do that hedge, and that's also top. And now the final case, which is quite simple, is this one, where you have the U center on the top. What you do is, instead of holding over here and doing a sledge, you hold it over here and do 2 sledges. So like you hold it in the where the headlights are on the left, and you do a sledgehammer followed by another sledgehammer from the same place, and that's also top. And that's basically it. That's intermediate for Skewb, and that's it. That's all there is to Sarah's intermediate. It's not that hard to learn. All you need to practice is the recognition of these cases. Like initially your times may get slower because of like the extra element of finding the U center also, but as you practice it'll come instantly to your mind because it's just another pattern. Like how you recognize your permutations, it's also how you recognize that the same way. Just practice it over and over again and you will soon become familiar with it. And yeah, next I'll be talking about like a few layer misconceptions that people have and like what you should do while solving your layer. Alright, so I just hand scramble this cube, and what I got is this weird scramble. It's quite simple for green, as you can see these two are connected, but like what the goal is that we try and solve as many corners as possible, right? So like there are multiple ways to do green, and I think the most efficient one is a 6-move solution. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but like normally what a person who's like just started off with Skewb would do is like what I see many beginners doing is that they put in the corners first, okay, and don't care whether they're wrong or not, right? Then they take it out and they twist it in the right place, and then they do the same thing for the next one. But there's much more efficient ways that you can solve the layer. I'll show you for that very case. Yeah, this case. So there's 2 ways you can do it. Like what I just did to make this case is a little weird way, but what it's really simple you could do is that you could first twist this corner or this corner, whichever you're comfortable with, 1 move away from solving. How I would do that is this, alright? And now you can solve this. That's 2 moves down, and then you can solve this in 3 moves. Oh, okay, sorry. So 5 moves to solve a layer, right? So that's you should just like pick up this cube and do lots of untimed layer solves. Like you just try and make the layer as efficient as possible. Just forget about the time right for now and just try and make your layer as efficient as possible. Your goal right now should be like 7 moves for the layer, and if you get that and if you're able to finger trick the layer decently fast, say for a time under 2 seconds, then and the last layer you'll be able to figure out soon. And yeah, another addition I need to make is that you should practice your sledgehammer and head slammer and get it to the point where you can sub 0.5 it, because this algorithm, well, not algorithm, yeah, algorithm is the staple of being a good Skewb solver. You should be able to sledge really fast, and you should be able to chain sledges, which means like able to repeatedly perform sledges from different angles, including some hedges. So what you can do is just pick up your Skewb and just do random hedges followed by sledges and try to, you know, minimize the gap between it, right? So like I'm just gonna solve the Skewb off. So like yeah, you should just pick up your Skewb and just try and chain as many hedges and sledges as possible and throw in some rotations there. Don't just do it still, and like sooner or later you'll get comfortable with the way you sledge and you will develop speed. Final notes for my video is that just practice is important, okay? You don't need to practice like 100 solves every day. It's just like even 25 solves a day with this in mind, and keep these techniques in mind, and you should dedicated practice. You shouldn't just solve and solve and solve, because just solving stupidly won't get you anywhere. You need to practice the new things you learn. And yeah, that's where I'll leave you guys off for this video. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for how to be sub 4. See you guys.